Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. In this edition of PostBurnout.com interviews, James O'Donnell, the frontman of the Cork-based rock band Ways of Seeing, discusses the project, making their debut album End Comes the Light, working with producers Christian Best and Daniel Fox on his music, their upcoming sophomore album The Inheritance of Fear, how this new record is a complete tonal shift from the first record, and much more.
Hi, Aaron.
How are you?
Good, yeah. I think I'm set up properly as well. I'm using like an interface here, so I think it's working. Which is good.
Perfect.
All
We
good now,
got the
yeah.
technical kinks out.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you, man?
Uh, good, good. Yeah, chilling after work. So, based in Cork, so enjoying the weather. It's nice.
Yeah,
So,
correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you're a school teacher. Is that correct?
yeah, primary school. So I
Uh,
work in school in just outside Mallow. New Two Pot House is the name of the village. It's an
do the
obscure
ki-
name, but
do the kids know about your musical project?
they do. I kind of show them. I'm kind of quite open about it. If it inspires even one of them, I'm like, job well done. I showed them like I had a video there recently. I did in the Lock in Cork City, and I showed it to them on when was it Friday, but they loved it. Like they were like, "Can we be in your next music video?" It's like maybe,
Does
but
that
yeah,
then make you
they
kind of go, "Oh, I have to worry about the lyrical content a little bit"?
sometimes like I suppose not that it should affect your art, but
Yeah.
yeah, kind of. I suppose it's like a small thing in the back of my head sometimes. But I don't think I think if I had a choice and I was like really passionate about I have to get this whatever expletive in or I don't think it would stop me either. So yeah.
They have to learn somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm teaching the older classes, so it's no. But yeah.
Yeah. I have to ask a little bit about, I guess, your background as a musician. So, I guess like what was kind of your interest in music? Because like, obviously with Ways of Seeing, I mean, it's so versatile. Were you listening to just like a litany of music?
Yeah, I guess starting off my earliest kind of memories of kind of getting into music properly or like 12, 13, 14. Before that it was like whatever was on like the top 40 and the Dave Fannings and RT
Yeah.
and yeah, like my dad started showing me like the Smiths and David Bowie and then I suppose yeah, I started listening to more stuff like Nirvana. There were tapes going around the secondary school like Nirvana, Sonic Youth. Yeah, it was a slow progression after that into like I guess like the indie stuff at the time. Started buying NME, Q magazine, and yeah, getting just kind of soaking it all up really as much music as I could. Um, yeah, then I suppose when I really started kind of to dig deep at music was with lads in architecture. I did studied architecture in college, and all four of us just kind of went on this kind of, I suppose, musical kind of exploration and just trying to find as much influences as we could. And we started writing music, rented a farm house out in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, I guess it all went from there really. Early, I suppose in secondary school as well, I would have played in a covers band, but I played bass. And since then, I hadn't played bass, but like only recently, I guess I've had to pick up the bass again with Ways of Seeing, just in a writing sense. And yeah, it's funny the way like things you think will never come back that you never use always kind of tend to come up again. So yeah, that's really it. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting when Ways of Seeing began. If I'm getting this correct, I mean the material that was on your first record, "Then Comes the Light," um, was primarily written during the COVID-19 pandemic. During that time, were you trying to discover new music, or were you kind of like listening to what was already familiar to you and I don't know, as like comfort food almost?
Yeah. Yeah, a mix, I would say. was actually listening a lot to the radio then. Just had so much time, and
Yeah.
I kind of made it almost like my mission nearly every evening to tune into a different radio station. Like Kino Kuivan was one, and like there's definitely a few songs on the album I can like remember specific songs that I wrote them after, and even some of the titles. Like he would play like a lot of instrumental stuff, and I actually got onto him about like the other side of summer that was like directly influenced by an instrumental track he played and on the show, and then I took kind of half took the title from that then. So I was in the kind of the back of my mind while I was writing, like just to expose myself to as much new stuff as possible and see how that might filter into the new music. Yeah, but I just had so much time then, and I know it's like a terrible time and all that, but I guess creatively it was a very good time for me in that I just threw myself into it. It was like a window of opportunity that I just went for.
Was Ways of Singing a pandemic band, or were you already kind of fermenting the idea beforehand?
Yeah, I think it probably was a pandemic project, although I never really stopped writing since the band previous to that, like Dear Desert. When that band finished up, I kind of started buying instruments and recording stuff in in the hope that like I'd come back to it again someday. So just like on adverts, I was picking up different microphones and different like a bass guitar and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't know if I would write again, but just in the years, I suppose had different voice notes, different acoustic ideas, and then when I started listening back, I was back to those. I was like, yeah, there might be something there. Like, no, these were very rough ideas, and I didn't really know for sure if anything would come of it. Like, then when I had so much time, I just started writing like pretty much daily. I treated it as a job, a second job almost. Like do 4 or 5 hours a day, and just kind of see what came of it really. But no, I'd nothing. Ways of Seeing didn't only started really as a project, I guess, at that point.
And when it came to what was it, starting as a solo project and then bringing band members in after the fact, or did it start like with the idea of like I'm going to make a band so I have something
Mhm.
kind of after the pandemic ends?
At the start, it was very much a solo project. I didn't know how I was going to play them live. Like I was trying to have fun with it, really. I was just like trying stuff that I hadn't tried before, like using synthesizers, MIDI violin, MIDI, whatever. Like I was just like, I'll work it out later. I'll get musicians in to play these parts. Trying to, get a bit of piano in. I was just like exploring different things, trying different things that I hadn't tried before, just try and make it fun. I didn't want to kind of rewrite what I'd done in previous bands, and I wanted it to be very much a new thing. So yeah, it was definitely a solo project, and it was me kind of just trying to find out what sound I wanted. And I actually don't think I fully landed on anything in the first album. I think in retrospect, it's probably like a very long EP where like exploring just each song, kind of just trying different things. I wasn't trying to overthink it, and I was just trying to have fun with it, really.
Was the making of the record, was it I don't know, was it long and arduous, or was it quite quick and rapid in your mind?
No, it was definitely long and
Yeah.
arduous. In that, like, I'd never written anything. I never finished a song on my own previous to that. I mean, like a complete song with drums, bass, electric guitar, whatever a standard song is to have. But actually, I remember finishing the first time I finished a song, like, and I was like, oh, that's actually a song. Like, it's like a moment where like the doors open, like, and I was like, it was definitely like a seminal kind of really important moments in that the other songs just started to come in really quickly after that. But up to that point, like it was really tough. I was like, can I actually finish a song? Can I? Yeah. So it was a lot of self doubt. Um, yeah. Looking at it now, I'm like, just so much of music is there is a bit of like having the balls and having the confidence to kind of say like yeah, I wrote that, and it mightn't be the standard way of writing it, but that's my interpretation of how the song should go.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, I was kind of like, oh, a song has to be a certain way, or these chords have to go a certain way. Whereas when I let go of that idea, and treated it a bit looser, that the song started to come a bit easier then.
And one thing I actually wasn't able to find when I was looking up, so maybe you could illuminate this for me.
Hmm.
Just about the personnel in the band, because I wasn't actually able
Hmm.
to find like a list of like who's actually playing in Ways of Singing. So maybe you could tell us who's in the band currently, and did it change
Oh yeah.
much from the record?
So the first album was solely recorded by me, I guess, and a few musicians that came in and out. And Christian Best, then I recorded the album with him. He did all the drums. Um, and I didn't actually meet up with the lads or try and put a band together until the album was like completely finished.
Yeah,
So it's kind of a strange way of doing it, I guess, but I kind of wanted like solid songs that I could go to people with and say, look, we're going to try and play these live. So in the band at the moment is David McDermott on drums, Calvin Brannigan on bass guitar, and then Donal Lenihan on lead electric guitar. And I I suppose that's the live setup. Um, I'm kind of the writer of the songs, I guess. And I'm not that I'm like too precious about that, or like that I have to be the only one who writes everything. I think it started that way, and that I was in two bands that had broken up,
yeah,
and it was kind of like a protectionist thing, like whereas like I kind of want to be in control of like whether this breaks up or not, and I kind of
sure,
wanted to keep going because like it's not that it's progress lost, but like when you start a new project, you're very much starting from scratch, like trying to get new fans, new followers, and I kind of wanted to keep a bit of momentum, regardless. I guess like kind of people like villagers and Tame Impala, kind of that template was there,
yeah.
and I kind of wanted to keep it to that. And I'm kind of open to like how that might evolve, it might change, and kind of become a more looser thing, like a thing where different people come in and write different parts. I'm kind of easy, really. It's all about the music for me.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. There is that, yeah, I think like when you have like this, I don't know, like songbook and songs that you're crafting that you're really passionate about, you kind of want to preserve it, especially as you mentioned, like once it's released to the public. And, obviously the band has been doing really well in terms of like, notoriety and streams and things like that. You do kind of like, I don't know, don't want it to dissipate. I think that kind of idea, that kind of, I won't say revolving door, but that kind of means of like leaving the door open so people can kind of come and go as they please is probably the best approach, I think, in terms of like maintaining that. I don't know if you
Yeah,
found that.
yeah. It seems to be kind of a good model. And like it's kind of getting people in then that you just enjoy being with, and who are kind of happy with that.
Yeah,
And if your kind of communication is open and kind of people know what they're getting into, and they're open to different ideas, are things changing, and ultimately like you want to hang out like music, you're not going to make a load of money off it, so you just want to
sure.
be around people who are enjoying their company and enjoying playing live or coming up with ideas. And that's kind of what I've tried to keep it to, like just hanging out with people and making music with people who I kind of who I enjoy being around with. It's kind of
I
yeah.
have to ask actually because you mentioned there briefly Christian Best.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, he's obviously the producer of this project. He's also a drummer. He's worked with people like Mick Flannery and
Yeah.
Frank and the Wailers and stuff like that. So how did you meet Christian? Did you know him before this project, or did you meet him because of this project?
No, I met him because of this project. I guess being in Cork, I was looking up the best Cork producers,
Yeah,
and so I was doing a good bit of research about it, and immediately, like when I made contact with Christian, and kind of I was giving out like some influences, and he was digging them, and he kind of knew what I was going for. And I know most of his stuff, a lot of his stuff is folk, maybe folk rock, but
yeah,
he was excited to try something different. And I think like probably maybe brought him back to his youth, and that he would have been kind of into the rockier stuff when he was younger. So he was, yeah, like he was just really into kind of trying new things in the studio. Probably equipment that he had bought with the idea of using, he got to use on this project. And like he's just such a easygoing guy, like really nice to hang out with. I just loved heading out to towards Middleton and kind of hanging out with him for a few days. And we kind of did it in chunks. Both albums actually was do like 3 or 4 days at a time, and kind of had to work around my own work and stuff. But
Yeah.
that kind of suited. It kind of left kind of time to kind of digest what we've done. And although like Christian would say, I'm very bad at committing to like sounds, and yeah, I've gotten a bit better, I think, but maybe he would disagree with that. But like if you saw that some of the tracks, like the tracking, like it'd be like layers of guitar, like and me unwilling to kind of like let go of a certain guitar. But like he really worked with me, like, and I guess it was for the most part there was two of us in the studio, but there would be like maybe a bassist like Calvin came in, another bassist, Mikey O'Connell came in, and um, Alan from Mick Flannery's band kind of put down a few little guitar parts as well. So yeah, it was kind of just like Christian might suggest like, oh, such and such musician, their style might go well with like maybe putting down a small bit here, and I'd be kind of like, yeah, let's go for it, let's do it, let's try it, kind of open mind, see where it takes us.
I don't know if you found this, but I actually think there is something kind of beautiful about like when you craft a piece of music or a piece of art, and then you see other people who are so invested in it that they kind of want to try and elevate it or add to it, and it seems like I don't know. I think sometimes when people are like kind of crafting art, there can be a feeling in the moment of like, is there an audience for this, or am I just kind of throwing you out into the ether a little bit? But when you kind of see that even before you release the music, just seeing people who are obviously very skilled and very trained, and have options, dedicating their time to actually try and make the song, I don't know, improved in some way, or I don't know, just like add their kind of flair to it a little bit. Is that kind of vindicating them before you even get the chance to release the music?
Yeah, definitely. Like when you're in the studio, sometimes it's like you're just playing in a vacuum, and
Yeah,
it's very hard to tell the wood from the trees. It's hard to tell what is good and bad.
yeah,
Listen to the same track like 100 times over. Um, I think even that goes for the producer and the artist. Like you're kind of lost sometimes. And when someone comes in from the outside and is like, "Oh, that's cool," like,
yeah,
and like for the first time they hear it, they get that first fresh listen, and then yeah, seeing them kind of come up with something on the spot after that, it definitely makes the track kind of like reignites it or something. It makes it exciting again.
yeah.
And that fresh interpretation of the track, maybe something that you would never have thought of, never have done. Um, yeah, it definitely gives you a fresh perspective of the track. Uh, yeah, I like it is interesting to see other people's reaction to the song to the song. Because yeah, before you put it out, like it's only family and friends that hear it, and so they're always going to tell you like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
mighty," like, so you really don't know what you're getting yourself into, really.
Yeah, and also sometimes like you're showing it to like family, and they kind of like preface their opinion with, "No, I don't know anything about music."
Yeah,
But it sounds good
exactly,
to me.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that is kind of difficult too, I guess, like when you're not, I guess, entrenched with a bunch of musicians to kind of like go, well, the people I know, they listen to music. Obviously, everyone listens to music to some degree, but it's like, I don't know, it is difficult to kind of tell what's good and bad. But I think like also in saying that, I mean, do you trust your own instincts, I guess, or do you kind of need outsider opinion too?
No, mostly I do trust my own instincts now a bit more. Only towards maybe the very end, like sometimes I ring up like lads who I've been in bands with before, like for the mastering stage, I might give them like two different masters and say, "Oh, just wondering what your gut feeling is on this." But I think you can do maybe send that to too many people as well, and I think a lot of people I talk to, like producers, and say like just don't be trusting everyone else above yourself. Kind of like go with your gut. I think the gut is usually right. But I do miss that element of being in a band.
Yeah.
where like you're making a decision and everyone else is like, yeah, yeah, that's definitely the snare sound, or that's definitely the right pedal on that guitar. Um, so I just have to I've learned to kind of go with my own instinct on things. I'm getting better at it, but again, that goes back to like with Christian, like the different tracking of guitars is it's that self-doubt and it's that kind of confidence that you gain as you go along as a musician.
One thing I really loved when I was looking at it, I guess the influences of the bands that you listed kind of, um, I think people kind of might even forget this, but like back in like the 70s when kind of like punk rock hit Ireland, you had this like scene here of like loads of different like organic punk bands, and some of them went in different ways. Some of them went more kind of new romantic, some of them went more kind of new
Hmm.
wave, some of them went kind of post-punky. Some of them went more traditional rock. It kind of went all over the place. The kind of birth, I guess, of punk rock here spurred these different directions. And when you
Hmm.
kind of think of those bands from the Irish punk scene at the time, you think of acts like U2 and Boomtown Rats and Virgin Prunes who came up and were
Hmm.
successful. But there were plenty of other bands like the DC9 and the Actrix and all these bands that I think people in who are attuned to that scene know, but like I think in the general kind of pop culture, somewhat forgotten. And a lot of these acts kind of were listed as influences on this project.
Hmm.
Acts like Whipping Boy and the Radiators from
Hmm.
Space and Micro Disney and these kind
Hmm.
of acts. They were you list them as influences. I was wondering, I guess how did you kind of discover these bands yourself and why did they resonate
Yeah.
with you?
Yeah, like I think around when I was writing this album, I started listening. I don't know if you've ever heard of the podcast, "To Hear Knows When" by Paul McDermott.
I
It's
don't know. So
basically it's like he's going back on all these, I guess, underrated Irish albums of old, and he interviews like people from those albums, from those bands, sorry. And yeah, I just started like going down a rabbit hole with those podcast episodes. I just found them like so intriguing and yeah, linking them, I suppose, to how where we are in today's Irish music scene. I saw a lot of connections and like even like I suppose the political kind of zeitgeist
yeah,
and
they're quite forward
how,
thinking. Yeah,
yeah, and how it links to maybe today to today's and yeah, I just started like I guess re-listening to all those albums while I was
yeah.
writing and it was kind of linking up to kind of more modern stuff that I was listening to as well. And it just felt like, yeah, this is like where I want this album to go. And not that you're looking for signs like to as to how exactly what direction music is going in, but it just seemed to just capture me. And like a lot of like I suppose then the micro Disney thing then with Cathal Coughlan, I sort of loved his voice and I kind of like maybe started looking at like, oh, what was working for his I was probably singing a similar kind of range to him, and I was like, oh, what's he doing here with the music? That could work on this album. Yeah, so I saw a lot of I thought there was this like untapped well of like brilliant Irish albums, and I
Yeah.
was like, why do I need to go further afield for inspiration when like there's all this amazing stuff from here?
What do you think of I guess the kind of current spring of Irish post-punk? Because obviously you're working with mixer Daniel Fox, who's from
Hmm.
Band, and they're kind of like I guess
Yeah,
the progenitors, like them, and maybe like bands like Bitch Falcon. I think are kind of the progenitors to what we're seeing now with bands like
yeah,
Just Mustard or Fontaines
yeah.
and so on. So I mean, what do you think of I guess the current idea of what I guess post-punk is versus like what it was back then?
Yeah, like I guess it's kind of it's a new kind of adaptation. I guess Gilliban kind of laid the foundations
Yeah.
for what is there now, and I don't know. I'd have to ask Daniel like exactly what those influences were, and but like Daniel, I know Daniel is definitely into bands like Radiators from Space, and like he's so up, I don't know, he's just so well in with the Irish music scene of the past, and even just music scenes in general. He's just like so knowledgeable. But I really do think that they were like the trailblazers, and a lot of bands I suppose are hanging on to their coattails and just kind of maybe just picking little bits here and there as influences. Um, I just yeah, I don't like. Is it like a direct consequence of what's going on in the world as well? Is it kind of like a just a bit of like rebellion against like what people see around them in society, and like people maybe kind of like a sense of unhappiness with the situation, and kind of that bit of anger and vitriol is coming out through the songs people are making with guitars and and whatnot, and the production of how people are kind of imagining these their music. So yeah, I wonder, is it? It's hard to know exactly like how it came about, but I do think Get a Band, in terms of the Irish context, kind of really drove or really planted the seed for what was to come. Like I just rate them so highly as I guess they're so original. Like when you listen to their early stuff, like and you listen to a lot of the bands that could be labeled post punk. I don't know. Everything gets the label of post punk now, but
Yes.
you do see you do see their influence like just everywhere.
Yeah. When it came to working with Christian and Daniel, did you tell them these references in terms of like what was kind of inspiring the music, or did you kind of did you refrain from that, kind of thinking that perhaps that would influence the
Mm.
production of the music in a certain direction?
Well, I suppose I knew what Daniel was bringing to the table. I knew what albums he had produced and mixed. I didn't really have to say that much. Like it
Yeah.
was
And
every
by the way, as a
decision.
producer, for those who aren't familiar with Daniel as a producer, I mean his range is very varied.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But like I knew what I guess like the principles of like I don't know, the bigness of the sound, or keeping the raw elements like, and kind of refining it to like a song to its um core instruments. Like he just like whack off a load of layers like when he's mixing, and he'd just be like, yeah, no, this is the song.
Yeah.
I knew that he'd bring those principles to the table, and that really interested me. I just like everything he touched. I guess I liked of previous albums that he'd been involved in, and then when I was in the studio and he was like making choices, I was like, yeah, I agree with that, or yeah, that sounds class. Everything he was doing, I was like, and then I was just like, that's exactly what I want. So early days, or like straight away, I was like, this is the guy. Um, that was even like after playing the vocals and mixing one song, I was like, I want to want to finish this with him, and he just seems like the guy for this project. In terms of Christian, then I guess like I had our previous stuff he had been involved in. Um, but I was kind of more unfamiliar really with how he might take the project, because like the In Comes the Light has some folkier elements, I guess, and I didn't know whether like I wanted to go down that road again.
Yeah.
But I think that, like a lot of the time Christian was like, when I was like, oh, I'm gonna put down an acoustic guitar and this now. He was like, no, affect acoustic guitar, do acoustic guitar.
Just
You're
smashes
putting on. He
it.
was just like, yeah, no, this is a rock project. So he definitely pushed me down that road. Like he was like, just go for it. Like just because I definitely the music on the new album that's coming out in September, it wasn't music I'd ever made before. Like I'd never turned up the dial and the distortion pedal that high before.
Yeah.
And like even like Christian was like, yeah, just try some shredding on this. And I was like, I don't know how to shred. Or like put some feedback down. And I was like, how do I do that? But I was like, I just like went with it, like, and just tried to, yeah, tried to just go over it. And just again, just that element of fun. It was like huge. Like even writing the new album, I was like, yeah, just like put down as many ideas as possible and just have fun with it. And then you can, I even assistant to thing Tyler, the creator, actually was talking about like writing. Yeah, he said like early when he's writing an album, like he just was like having fun like a child at the start, like, and then almost like editing like a scientist at the end. So it's like
That's
kind
a
of
good point.
bringing
Yeah, yeah,
that. I think it's like it kind of takes the pressure off. Like,
yeah,
you know, you're like when even like the thought of like writing the next album now, or writing the next song. I think if you're going into like, oh, I must create this great riff, or the chords I must put down at the start. It must be great. I must write a great song. Whereas if you just say like, I'm just going to throw as much down and have fun, and then worry about how good it is later on.
Are the three songs that have been released post album hasn't happened yet? Gold Hand and Idolize. Are these all going to be on the record, or were some of them just
No,
singles? Okay.
no. So Idolize will be.
Yeah.
Gold Hand and hasn't happened yet. Were like yeah, kind of transition songs. It was
Yeah.
like for a while, like thought that they might be on an album, but I guess after recording and mixing them and mastering them, I thought that they were their own thing. They kind of got. I think they kind of go together as a pair, and if I had to put them out in any way, it would be like what is it? It's like a 7 inch, is it?
Yeah.
Or an A side B side.
Sure.
I've kind of paired them together. Yeah, they're just a bit lighter, I guess, than what's on the new album. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think they would work on it. Although I did think about it, but no, I don't think they would. No, they won't definitely won't be on it. Yeah.
So your upcoming album was it written as a collective piece, or were there individual songs that kind of you brought together collectively? How did it work?
Um, yeah, I think after I wrote about 3 or 4 songs, I started seeing kind of some sort of a theme, like, and then that influenced probably the finishing of the lyrics and all the songs and the next 8 songs writing them. Like the title of the album is The Inheritance of Fear. And at the time I was listening to like a lot of like psychologists and kind of like what makes our flaws, what makes our fears, whether it's like generational or something in our childhood or way back. Like there was a poem I read by Diran Grifa. I think it's called An Experiment to Induce the Inheritance of Fear. So the title actually comes from that poem, but it's like this experiment where it's this poem about a smell kind of like inducing the fear of the going back to the times of the famine. It's so like yeah, I was just really interested in like where our makeups come from. And like I think all of us have some bit of trauma, whether it's like big or small. And I just wanted to explore that, whether it was personal or just thematical in general.
Were you researching that with the explicit intent of trying to garner material, or was it just something that was interesting you at that time and material built from that?
Yeah, it was just something I was just interested in at the time.
Yeah.
And then I guess when I realized like the album might be about that thing, I probably started listening to more stuff like, um, yeah, like The Body Keeps the Score. There's like lots of psychology stuff to do with kind of trauma and to do with um, character and how it links to our past and past lives or even present. Yeah, so like a lot of the songs do have that in some way. Some maybe less so than others, but some songs quite explicitly like are about that. Yeah.
I have to ask your opinion on generational trauma because I know it's kind of a contested, if I'm correct, it's kind of a contested thing in the field of psychology. So, do you think it's valid or do you think it's invalid?
I think there's definitely some truth to it, but again, how much I don't know. I think it's like
That's true.
sometimes these things it's like I think the idea of whether it's true or not for me as like the artist or the writer is probably less important, whereas like just exploring it as an idea is enough for me, really.
No, that's
Um,
totally fair. You're not making a dissertation, you're making
no,
art.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was something to kind of let's latch onto, um, as kind of this kind of yeah wave I could work from out from, yeah.
Yeah. I think when you have a background in academia, it is hard to shake the citation side of your brain, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely have a bit of that as well. Like even like some study in architecture, like just this idea that you have to have a direct maybe reason for everything.
Yeah.
But no, I just wanted to explore it myself as an idea, and some of it is made up, some of it is taken from ideas from other people, and it's all just a mishmash
Perfect, man.
of
There were two
ideas.
final things I wanted to ask before I wrapped up and let you get on with your day. The first
Yeah.
was actually we were talking about Daniel Fox there. I was wondering how actually you kind of approached him about being on about working with you because if I'm
Hmm.
correct, and I could be getting this wrong, I believe Daniel actually is quite selective with who he'll work with. So it's not just like,
Yeah.
it's not just like, hey,
Yeah.
if I have time free and you're willing to pay, I'll do it for you. It's kind of like he does want to actually. Again, I've spoken to other artists who've worked with him. I haven't spoken to him myself, but my understanding is that, he kind of actually approaches artists that he's interested in, or he
Mm.
kind of makes familiar relations with people that he wants to work with. So, for you, how that kind of work out, I guess. Well, obviously
Yeah.
positively, but
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of chance involved in it.
yeah,
Um, there was probably in another world I wouldn't have got to work with him. There was a lot of kind of stuff that happens that kind of opened the door. Like I probably sent him a message good few months anyway before I heard back, and I kind of had other stuff maybe lined up, and then just yeah, a lot of life stuff happened. I kind of had problems with my voice, and I had to delay recording, and then one of my friends passed away, and then I kind of had tinnitus around that time. So I had a lot of kind of like different health things
yeah.
that delayed recording. And probably if those things hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have been working with him. So basically, yeah, so I delayed a lot of, I pushed back recording a lot. And then in that window, he got back to me. And he was my number one like guy. I was like, I made a list of like potential mixers and he was number one. So when he got back to
Was
me,
there any
so
albums? Sorry, not to interrupt you, but was there any albums or anything that you were listening to by him that he'd worked on that you liked? Or
the Sprints one I thought was class. Like I was just like just yeah, the sound, the scale of the sound, like I just a lot of I guess I had the demo, I had the rough mixes or rough tracks put down, and I could just kind of visualize what they could become under the same lens as the Sprints album. Um, yeah, and that was the one I think that was just out maybe around that time. Hard to put the timeline together now, but yeah,
yeah, I can't
uh,
remember the exact year. I know that album came out in like January because I remember it was a January
yeah, it
record,
was
but I can't
January. Yeah,
remember if it was 24 or 23 off the top of my head.
yeah, I can't either. But yeah, that was definitely one that was like I was like that album's unreal.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's something I can picture this album going that kind of way. And I guess there was only one track released, but once we hear there are other tracks, you might be able to get more of a sense of maybe how I saw that working. Yeah, like to get him involved, it's just like a massive boost in terms of like yeah, I'm not too bad. We're not too bad at putting songs together. Like if Daniel Fox is willing to get involved,
Yeah.
so it was a big kind of like yeah confidence booster, I guess, that we're kind of going down the right path, and there's some merit to these songs. Yeah.
Well, speaking of like confidence boosting, you mentioned that you had to kind of, I guess, free yourself up, if that's a fair way to put it, to kind of make more sort of aggressive or bitey music, and that's we've heard
Hmm.
exemplified and idolized. I was wondering like when it came to such a tonal shift from this record to your
Hmm.
previous record. I mean, did you have consideration for things like continuity between the songs, or did you kind of just feel like no, each album should be its own individual thing?
I did have some reservations, but then when the songs just kept coming, I was like, nah, it's meant to be like. I was just like, I can't ignore this kind of
Yeah.
shift in my own head, like on what I'm enjoying doing. So I kind of had to, I just said I commit to it. Look, and yeah, I know kind of like, oh, I suppose critics and stuff like to see, I like to make connections between albums and all that. But I think it's been done in the past where like there has been big shifts in bands' careers. And I like kind of the way I kind of legitimize it in some ways. It's like the first album was like made in an attic, just like me totally isolated, and that kind of smallness and kind of intimacy I think is in that record. Um, and I think the new one is like me kind of just breaking out and kind of wanting to make as much noise and just make kind of as much. as much noise and kind of going a bit wild. Just being trapped, I suppose, for a year. Kind
Yeah.
of, I just wanted to do that. And I was thinking like live. I just wanted to make a record that'd be fun to play live with the lads because I was kind of getting used to playing with them, I guess, from the first album. And I kind of saw like what could work for us in a live context, and yeah, I just wanted to to make music that would be good fun in that sense. Yeah.
And one final thing I'll leave you with is that obviously as you mentioned the project's based in Cork, and the Cork music scene, especially post-pandemic,
Hmm.
I think it's really been blowing up. I mean, you see
Yeah.
bands like Cardinals and Pebble Dash and stuff, and they're just
Yeah.
like exploding. I was speaking to the band Mirrors, who are from Cork, and they were saying that you know the Cork scene, even though you have these people who within the Cork scene would be considered like superstars, like your Cardinals and stuff. There's no cutthroat mentality. It's all very supportive. It's all very fostering of new talent. I was wondering from your perspective. I mean, do you think it's kind of fortuitous to be in Cork at this time when the music scene is getting so much attention?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah,
I don't think it's any bad thing. I guess I'm a Kerry man
yeah,
originally, but I've been in Cork now a good while. So I don't know if I consider myself half Cork, but I am definitely I've been here a while. So yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. Like those bands that you mentioned are just really exciting. Like Clifford's, Cardinals, Pebble Dash. Like they're just getting brilliant recognition at the moment, and it's like totally deserved. Like I think
yeah,
the music is just like standalone, like internationally, like it's just like up there. Yeah, so it's like it's nice to be. I don't like not that I'm not part of that, but I guess like there are kind of smaller scenes within the Cork music scene, and I'm definitely trying to kind of like go to more gigs and kind of be around that like and just enjoy that. I went to see Cardinals actually last year or 2 years ago. Like they just had a song out, but like immediately I knew like yeah something. Same with Clifford's. Like you just know
yeah.
after one or two songs, I was like this. They have stuff. They have what it takes. Like yeah. So I'm really enjoying being around that scene. Like and being able to go to those gigs and enjoy the music in a live sense. And I've given like Collins and Cypress Avenue, like there's just endless like good local artists playing there every week. Um, and well, if a bit more attention comes on different bands in Cork from other bands doing well, like that's like a rising tide lifts all boat many boats and all that. I'll yeah gladly gladly kind of be part of that. Like
Yeah.
I'm proud that we are a Cork band essentially, and I'm happy to be called like we're happy to be called a Cork band.
Perfect. And final thing, plans for the rest of the year. I mean, obviously you have the record coming out. I don't know if there's going to be more singles between now and then, or
Yeah.
if Idolize is the sole single being released for the
Hmm.
record. Yeah. So just and gigs and things like that. I know you're playing
Yeah.
soon, so I think you're playing
Yeah.
this weekend, as a matter of fact. So
Yeah, we're playing Galway this weekend, and that kind of coincides with the next single is out actually this Friday in
okay.
USA 94. It's so that's the second single, and then the week after we're playing Collins in Cork actually, so like a hometown gig. So hopefully we get a good crowd for that.
I'll
And then
try and get
after
this
that
out to
we
coincide with that. I won't be out for this one this week's, but I will try and get this out for that one. So
oh yeah, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so after that then we have a bit of a break. We don't really have any festival slots. We kind of like missed the boat on those. A lot of them are like our a lot of the festival slots seem to be wrapped up like January, February, and
Yeah.
yeah, if something came up, I'd be like, yeah, we go for it. But so we're very much like kind of looking at maybe September, October, then maybe festivals will come up. Probably do an Irish tour with the album release, and there will be probably two more singles out before the album. And so like probably four singles. It's just the way music has gone. Like singles are kind of king at the moment, and and you don't want to be shooting yourself in the foot either. Like, not, I like the idea of like, don't get me wrong, of like listening to an album through and kind of not focusing on the singles as much, but with the way like streaming has gone and you kind of want, you need to put out singles. So
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about maintaining the momentum. It is just a matter
mm,
of like you have to
yeah,
kind of, like so many artists say the same thing, where it's just like you constantly have to be putting stuff out to remind people, oh, I like this band, you know. It's just it is the game, you know. Because like yeah, no, it's true. I remember like you know when I was growing up, you know, it was all very album focused, like not pre-internet, but I guess pre prominence of internet when music was still focused on physical releases. The idea was
yeah,
basically you would have like maybe two or three singles before the record came out, then the record, and then maybe you'd have like a single or two after that, and that was kind of that album cycle, and then you'd be on to the
yeah,
next album. But yeah, now it is kind of more single focus. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. It's just different, you know.
yeah. You kind of have to, you know, deal with whatever cards you're dealt with. You kind of have to use them,
Yeah,
and that's kind of the music industry at the moment. Like it's very different to when I started off with like Hush Work, right? Like whatever 11 or whatever year, how many years ago. It's like just completely different music scene,
yeah,
and you kind of have to adapt and like learn new skills. Like even like social media, I know like I'm a video editor on the computer, like and I had to like learn that properly how to use that, like to kind of put up social media stuff, and
yeah.
it's just cool, like you know, you kind of learn new stuff and
You kind of have to
being
expand
creative
your
in a
skill
different
set a
way.
bit because everyone has to wear
Yeah,
so many hats. Yeah.
yeah, kind of from the outside, I mean, it looks like, oh, there's a video editor or producer kind of like putting this stuff together, and it's like you're kind of locked away in the room, like coming up with this stuff. But that's just the nature of being a musician in
Sure.
the 21st century. Like that's just the way it is.
Do you actually just one thing I was just thinking of there as you were saying that, I mean, how do you kind of I guess find time for everything you're doing while also working a full-time job?
I don't know. The new, actually, the recent album wrote itself really quickly, which was lucky.
Yeah.
Like I just seemed to come together really quickly, so I was lucky in that sense. And I just usually just like do 2 evenings a week, maybe. And then regarding, I suppose, the administration and all that, like it's ongoing, like it's every evening. Like I just you have in your head like, oh, 2 evenings maybe this week I'll email such and such and I'll put this video together for that. So I have got management involved this year, which helps a bit with that. But still, like it's pretty full on. I think they kind of complement each other though. Like when I'm at work then at school, like it's like I'm not that person at all. Like it's like different hat, and it's kind of just refreshing to get away from it as well. I'd say I'd find it nearly harder if I was just doing music and like just to constantly kind of be focused on or whether this thing is doing well, like or this video is getting traction. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
you can kind of get caught up in that world, and it's kind of nice to get away from it sometimes.
So
Uh,
so I'm getting what I'm getting is that your actual job is sort of a means of decompression.
I definitely think so. Yeah. Um, yeah. Even when I had like that issue with a bit of like tinnitus there, like last year, like even though like getting going into work and just concentrating on something else for like whatever 6 7 hours,
Yeah.
that's the best thing ever. Like it was kind of like an escape. It's like oh, just oh, giving something like to other people, like and just yeah, I find this yeah exactly. I find it like that element of decompression really good. Um, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do it full time music. Probably if the opportunity would have to arise for me to make that decision, but at the moment I'm far away from that. So
You'll
yeah,
get
we'll
back to
see.
me.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, thanks very much for your time, James. It's really lovely talking with you. Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up? Is there anything you don't think we covered or anything like that?
No, no, I think that's pretty much the story so far. Yeah,
Okay,
whatever comes next.
perfect. Do you want to plug your social medias and things like that?
Oh yeah, so you can get us on Ways of Seeing Music. That's on Instagram and TikTok, Facebook, and then on X, which probably use less. It's Ways of Seeing, and then is it
Dude, I
_?
noticed I lost like 300 followers from people just exiting X. It was like, oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay. It was almost
yeah.
like,
So
oh, I guess I'm kind of starting from scratch a bit. Well, not
yeah,
really, but
yeah,
like, you know, it's like, oh, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Instagram is the one we use. Like
yeah.
it's Ways of Seeing. music. Ways of seeing music is the Instagram tag. And yeah, Spotify, YouTube. We're on YouTube. And yeah, I can't try to think of anything else. Went on TikTok recently, but again, not too familiar with it, and I don't know if am I regretting it already.
The
I'm not
TikTok I
sure.
set up for the website, it's just become a graveyard for me. I'm like, oh, again,
Exactly.
it's weird. I relate to musicians such as yourself who are talking about this admin side because I'm kind of doing that with the website, which is like a, for the most part, one man operation, and it's
Yeah,
like just having the time to, because I'm trying, because like really what I'd like to do is just focus on these interviews and getting articles out and doing the podcast and stuff, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to make a short, or I need to do this reel, and I always just forget and I always just lapse. I'm terrible with time management.
yeah,
It's a big issue.
yeah. I know. I can relate to that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have a website as well, actually, ways of seeing official.com. So I think that covers nearly most of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Thanks very much for your time, James, and
No, thank
enjoy
you.
the rest of your day, and best of luck with everything you have coming up too.
Thanks a million. Thanks a million, Eric.
Take care. Bye.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.